Welcome to another edition of Chops and Pops. Out of all of the podcasts and all of the things you could be watching on YouTube, you're listening to us. Thank you so much. I am Andy.
And I'm Andrew the Shoe Eater.
And I'm Shane. Now you have to live up to those words, but
You do. So,
I know.
on this edition of Chops and Pops, we have Austin versus Lesnar, Texas Death Match at WrestleMania 32, Wednesday Night Wars, Ring of Honor, Impact, NXT, Lucha Underground, and Physical WWE Hall of Fame. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Where to begin?
well, I think there's a perfect place to begin, and Andy actually has a sound clip ready. For those of you, we were a little late to posting last week's episode, which was our review of the Elimination Chamber. But Andy, do you want to play that sound clip for those who might have not heard the end of the show?
The
Oh,
most
no.
important part of our
yeah.
podcast last week was...
Oh, no.
If Dean Ambrose walks out with that belt around his waist, I will eat it with a fork and a knife.
He said it.
No sauce.
Andrew said
No
it
sauce.
himself.
And
There-
he actually volunteered to have no sauce.
He did.
We were
no
being
sauce.
generous in saying that we would give you condiments.
That, I,
Fork and a knife, huh?
can I at least be granted wizard status? Because I totally told the future on that one. For those that don't know, I totally called Dean Ambrose walking out of that arena with the belt. I didn't say he had to be champion.
He most certainly walked out of that arena with that belt.
And now some people eat food. Some people even eat crow, so to speak. I'm going to eat a shoe.
So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
For some shoe. So, Austin versus Lesnar, the Texas Death Match. How exciting is that noise?
It's basically the most exciting thing that could happen.
It is.
Literally. I mean, we could kind of dissect it and talk about all the ins and outs of that match actually happening. But if you want to put it in those terms, it's literally, I think, the most exciting thing that can happen in wrestling.
It just, and they set it up and they're like, it would be great if it happened. I mean, you know, all the stars would have to align. And then, like, the next day on Twitter, the WWE's like, hey, guys, how cool would it be if that actually happened? Retweet at us. And it's like, well, everybody wants to see that, WWE.
Absolutely. I thought the way he sold it was perfect too. He's like, because it wouldn't be a normal match. I mean, the guy, you might as well put bolts in his neck. He's like freaking Frankenstein. So I'm not gonna try and wrestle with the guy.
He most certainly is Frankenstein, Brock Lesnar.
Embodied.
He was, like, created in a lab to be the Beast. He's so angry. And his voice is so high-pitched. Oh, it's so funny. He's this big, tough guy. I'm going to do
It
it.
cracks a lot. That's
does.
the
He
problem. His voice cracks.
Very
Ugh.
cracky. So what did you guys think of that podcast?
The Heyman podcast?
Yeah, generally.
I only saw that part. It was early in the morning. I believe it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Someone was like, holy hell, did you see this? And I said, what? And I clicked it, and it showed just him saying, well, you know, if there was the match, I'd kick his ass. And it's like, oh, this would be great.
Yeah.
And I'm sold on that. I imagine it was probably a pretty good podcast. I mean, they're both great speakers. And I imagine they have some great stories to tell, especially because of their history together.
And you know what? For the podcasts they've done recently, like the one with Stephanie McMahon and the one with Vince, and I mean the Triple H one got a little bit more edgy in my opinion, but like the biggest problem with the Stephanie one was how overproduced it was and how planned out it seemed, and a lot of people were upset by that. This kind of seemed much more like a shoot because you really can't expect anything less with Paul Heyman. The guy only speaks the truth, you know? So leading up to that, it was very entertaining in terms of them just covering whatever they felt like talking about. But the moment you're talking about, which was the only thing you saw, Stone Cold just snapped right into character. Like it was very laid back. They were joking, and just the second he teased that match, he was Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the whole thing was great too, and I loved how for pretty much 40 to like 50 minutes of it, it sounded like they were just talking as friends about the business, and it was all around cool. However, I have to say that from beginning to end, I just had that feeling that, oh God, it's a work. I wanted to believe that it was real.
But it's the good kind of work. It's like, even if they're working us, it's for that match at WrestleMania.
But I had deja vu. A few years ago, I remember seeing something eerily similar to this involving CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin when they were trying to promote the WWE game.
Right.
And it was a sit-down with Punk, Stone Cold, and JR, and they teased a match between those two. And Austin had, to me, what seemed like the same attitude he did when asked about facing Brock Lesnar. So that bothered me. I didn't like that.
I hear you. That's fair to say. My opinions on it changed a lot today, actually, when I read an article. And I'll give credit where credit's due. I actually, for the first time, remember who wrote it. It was this guy who normally does an article on the columns on lordsofpain.net. His articles are called The Doc Says. And he wrote an article about Austin versus Lesnar. And it kind of opened my eyes up to how massively big this actually is.
Oof.
Because I bring it up because of you bringing up Punk, that people have teased the idea of Austin coming back for a WrestleMania match with Punk before, and people have teased him coming back to fight Cena. And he kind of broke it down in a very clear way that just kind of explained how Lesnar is on a completely different level. Like that match of Austin versus Lesnar being on a completely different level.
I get that.
That for everything that 32 is planned out to be, of breaking the all-time attendance record, for it being literally the largest pro wrestling event in our lifetime, and beating Hogan Andre, that Austin Lesnar is just that marquee value that is unlike any other, that it's literally just the greatest versus the greatest, that it's not just the capacity of the crowd, that it is the closest thing we've gotten to Hogan Andre in terms of the immovable force, or I'm sorry,
the irresistible force versus the
versus
object.
And
It's bananas.
that like you really just wouldn't get that with Austin Cena, or you wouldn't get that with Austin Punk.
Oh, yeah.
That Lesnar is on a roll that no other wrestler has had in decades, and that's not just his victories, that's talking about him beating the streak. And no matter how much Hulk Hogan is remembered as the Michael Jordan of pro wrestling, Stone Cold beat him, from what the WWE tells us, in terms of numbers, in terms of merchandise sales, that he is literally the biggest WWE superstar in history, is Stone Cold Steve Austin. And people sometimes get the term heel confused in terms of a guy just cutting a good promo and making some people angry. Lesnar is literally the definition of the ultimate villain. Like, we were just joking around about Bane before we went on air. Like, he is the #1 Batman villain. Like, and Punk would have never filled those shoes, no matter how great he was at performing promos. And Cena, the only way it would have worked was to do a heel turn, and that wouldn't have worked because him turning heel would have made people cheer him. But I mean, it would have been different if he was fighting Austin. But I'm saying, like, this is literally fitting for Dallas because it's the biggest match you could have of this lifetime to put in front of the largest crowd of our lifetime.
I just wanted to say two things. One, you sold that so damn well. That
but that's the thing. I wanted to give credit to that article because it made me kind of realize how big this actually would be.
The second thing is what would make that match even bigger is for the wrestling marks out there who remember Stone Cold's last match that he never had was supposed to be this match. So if everybody finally gets to see it, and it's got all this backstory to it. But you're right, it is literally the best of our time.
And that's another thing I didn't touch on that the article got into, was the idea of there being this storyline that already exists of how Heyman can kind of tease Austin in the sense of, like, you were afraid, you walked out, you were supposed to have a match with him, and you went home.
What was he took his ball and he went home? That's the phrase they use, I think.
Yeah.
They took his ball and he went home.
Right.
Sounds familiar.
So, and again, because of that match has never happened, even though Lesnar was around towards the end of Austin's career. So, and then just kind of bringing this up, there's Heyman. Like, I use the term icing on the cake all the time, but, like, really, like, how much better does that make it? That in terms of the promos that you would have to use to build up this match, you have Paul freaking Heyman, the greatest talker of all time, the greatest promoter of all time.
Yeah.
And he'll promote the greatest match of all time. Like, this is the stars all aligning for this to, happen.
This is a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
So,
Are we
the
good on
Wednesday
this?
Night Wars.
That was this
There's
week.
so much going on Wednesdays.
Oh my God.
Hmm
Too much.
There's Ring of Honor,
Ring of Honor,
Impact Wrestling,
Impact,
NXT,
Mm-hmm.
NXT.
and Lucha Underground.
What are you guys watching on Wednesdays?
I don't have cable, so I'm watching NXT on the WWE network because I don't have cable. And nor will I get cable in my time in this apartment because I see no purpose in having cable.
But you're not alone. I mean, the network doesn't really release their numbers, but to tell you the truth, I think if we were going in a ratings war, NXT was probably winning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And 1.3 million subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
It's already been mentioned how a lot of the newer programming is really what gets watched on
Mhm.
the network. In terms of actual numbers, Ring of Honor actually didn't do so well.
Yeah.
And I kind of contribute that to the fact that it really wasn't promoted outside the wrestling world.
Really
Mhm.
wasn't.
It really was just said to the Ring of Honor fans, got talked about in the internet wrestling community. And so you really can't blame it on, But the numbers were 163,000 at 8 p.m. showing. It was 110,000 for the replay at 11 o'clock, which brought a total of 273,000, which is incredibly low.
It is.
How would that count someone like me that DVR'd it?
You know what? That's an interesting thing you brought up because Dixie Carter actually defended herself in the numbers that get released on Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
That us as fans or stuff that gets reported in the dirt sheets actually don't have the full numbers all the time.
Right.
And that could possibly include the DVRs.
Yeah.
So,
The
But
Nielsen
still.
ratings are terrible. Because they give it to like 1,000 or 10,000 households that are picked randomly, and it's what they're watching.
Oh.
It could be the wrong 10th because it's random, so it could be just the wrong 10,000 or 1,000 at that time, and it's because it's just such a random scattering of people that the ratings are like almost always like kind of skewed in a certain way, which is why a lot of times you'll see shows that you enjoy and your friends enjoy and a lot of
Yeah.
people you know enjoy, and it gets canceled, and you're like, why is this? And it's well, those select people weren't watching.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
They're buttheads.
But that being said, it's great to have ROH on television. That's what
is.
I'm watching. And then I'm tuning into NXT afterwards because I'm just not a fan of TNA. But ROH, man, it's finally got its spot.
yeah.
Want it to rise.
It's a win-win-win-win. Us as wrestling fans get 4 shows on a Wednesday night. It's
4
pretty
wins.
awesome. But Impact, though, talking about them, we have a sound clip
We do.
that we're going to play because a lot of people don't like TNA. And I don't necessarily blame them. But the opening of the show started out like this.
Let the celebration begin.
See, now to me, that's just great.
It's pretty ridiculous.
That to me is just some great television.
I think anytime there's a barbershop quartet, it's a good situation.
Yeah.
Cena did it at Mania. It wasn't like that.
But in terms of numbers, the 9 p.m. showing did 297,000, with the midnight replay getting 72,000 for a total of 369,000, which this was their first time on a Wednesday night. They just ended airing on Fridays. I don't know. You know, they have the head start of being on Spike TV for like 10 years, but I think it's kind of funny how, the internet wrestling community likes to hype up the whole idea of like Ring of Honor, and don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that Ring of Honor's on actual television now, but I'm saying like they hype it up as like this is their chance, they're gonna do it, and
Yeah.
TNA's so stupid, and then TNA beats them in the ratings, and everyone's all quiet. Like,
Yeah.
I just think that for as bad as Impact Wrestling can be at times, they still don't get credit when credit's due, just because there's all this blind hatred towards them.
Right.
You know. So it's just funny that like numbers like that don't get talked about. But I'm sure there's a million excuses as to why those numbers are the way they are.
So speaking of the numbers, all right. So you said TNA got what, 270 just about?
TNA in total, if you're combining the replay with the original airing, was 369,000.
The show goes on at 8, right? Impact goes on at 8.
No, Impact's on from 9 to 11.
Oh,
Ring of
okay.
Honor was on at 8.
At 8.
1 hour.
Okay.
Ring of Honor's only an hour long. Impact's 2 hours.
And NXT is on what?
8
well,
o'clock.
8 o'clock.
And
also.
that's where it get confusing.
But wherever
That's-
you
that's
could watch
actually
both at the same
whenever you
time.
want to watch NXT after it airs.
But that's another point.
which is
Yeah.
the best part of NXT. Because
Yeah.
most of the time I don't watch NXT on Wednesday. Actually, this past week I watched NXT as I was driving to work. Don't do that. Don't watch TV and drive to work. I set up my phone on right by my speedometer, and I was watching wrestling as I was driving to work on Thursday morning, and it was my favorite way to watch wrestling because it made my ride to work that much better.
Folks, don't try this at home. Please.
Don't do it.
If you do, don't blame us.
See, it's good for me because at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody on the road, so I don't have to watch out for anything. But all you other people that leave at normal times, you probably need to look at the road.
Yeah, we don't advise you to
Don't do
watch
it.
television while driving. In turn, breaking out of the whole numbers thing, because really, I'm saying it, and I even agree that that could mean absolutely nothing from us not having access to the actual information of stuff like DVRs. Also, with Impact Wrestling, beyond the original viewings, beyond the replays, and beyond DVRs, I've gotten into the habit that even when towards the end of them on Spike TV, they put them on demand for Comcast that you can
Yeah.
watch it. Like, that's another thing that doesn't get counted, and that's pretty much the only way I watch it most of the time.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm
but
sure those numbers would change things greatly.
yeah. But outside the numbers, just to kind of run down this real quick, to compare these 4 shows for them all going head-to-head for the first time, Ring of Honor gave us a main event of the Briscoes versus the House of Truth. Impact Wrestling gave us Ethan Carter III and Tyrus versus Rockstar Spud and Kurt Angle. NXT gave us Finn Balor versus Rhino. And Lucha Underground gave us an intergender submission match between Sexy Star and Pentagon Jr. With that all on paper, I'm probably watching NXT. What about you guys?
Well, I heard that Balor match was amazing, but if you're telling me that it's my first chance to see the Briscoes on television,
Oh, definitely.
I'm
Yes.
tuning into them every time.
Yes.
As someone who doesn't have cable, I am kind of forced to watch NXT. And by forced, I mean I drove to work watching it. So I honestly valued NXT more than my life at that point. So that's how much I
That's
care about
deep.
NXT.
Yeah.
NXT is the only show that I will go out of my way to watch every single week because I care so much about everything happening there.
It's a great show.
You're definitely not alone with that either.
It's a great hour of television.
Oh yeah.
And it does everything that Raw and SmackDown should do, but it's only an hour.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're quality matches. They're quality short matches that tell a story. It's not just like stupid.
Isn't it funny that that's Triple H's baby
Yeah.
and Raw is,
Vince
Shows
Land.
times are changing. The
But
times they
actually,
are changing.
since we're kind of talking about the crossovers of stuff, you mentioned Will Ferreira.
Yes.
The guy that was in the opening match. He was against Kushida.
Mm-hmm.
You said Will Ferreira was actually the one that stood out to you, since you haven't watched Ring of Honor in a while, and out of the new talent you were introduced to, he was the one who stood out to you?
Yes. It might be just because it was my first Ring of Honor match. Having watched that match for the first time in what feels like forever, I forgot how good these guys were, so I was still kind of on that high of, man, I'm watching Ring of Honor, but
Yeah.
that's the one that I'll remember. I remember the sequence of it all, and it just left an impression on me. That guy's good.
Well, fun fact, Will Ferreira was on Raw about a week ago. About a week ago.
About a week ago.
So-
Bobby Schmurda just show up at
yeah. Free Schmurda.
Really?
So Will Ferreira was in the backstage segment with Dean Ambrose. Remember when Dean Ambrose got arrested?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Will Ferreira was the cameraman that got shoved into Dean Ambrose.
That was him.
That was Will Ferreira.
Oh.
I wanted to save that to tell you that.
So,
what?
and speaking about backstage segments, I made an amazing discovery today.
Oh yeah.
Go back to 2006 and watch you some D-Generation X, the I Just Kick Stan skit. Do you know who
remember that?
Stan is?
It was New DX.
They're saying, you know, Sean, they say we're not controversial. We're not controversial enough. We know what controversy is. You. Yeah? What's your name? I'm Stan. Oh, super kick.
I
And,
just kicked Stan.
and then he storms off down the hallway, kicks a guy with a pile of papers that goes flying. Super kicks another guy down the hallway. It's a great 2 minutes. But Stan is Ty Dillinger on NXT.
Yep.
Interesting stuff there.
But before we wrap this up, the only thing I was going to throw in there is we really didn't talk about Lucha Underground, but pretty much everyone kind of talks about that as being the best show. So I kind of feel it's unfair that, we have all of our knowledge on the other three. I've seen a bit of Lucha Underground, and I've liked everything I've seen. I was actually explaining it to you this way the other day, that Lucha Underground storytelling is so fantastic that I just don't have the patience to watch it 1 hour and then have to wait a whole week. So what I've done is I'll skip it for weeks at a time. Like, I haven't watched it in months, just so when I sit down and watch it, I can watch 20 episodes in a row.
Okay.
Just so I could see the story play itself out.
Binge watch it.
So that's really the only excuse. We're not haters on Lucha
No.
Underground. I mean, have you seen anything from what
I
they've
saw
done?
the very first episode of
Right.
Lucha Underground.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember
And
you did.
I loved it. But that's when I had cable.
Right.
And now I don't have cable. So I haven't watched it since then. And I'm kind of hoping that since it's a season of Lucha Underground, that they will release a DVD set of that season, and I will be able to watch it that way.
Hopefully. I mean, if they release a DVD, it would probably just be the greatest matches of
Right.
the first season, not the whole episodes. But at the beginning of August, they're going to have the season finale, and that's going to be their closest thing to a pay-per-view. It's going to be a 2-hour special, and even if you haven't followed the weeks leading up to that, I would highly recommend checking that out. And I'm going to binge watch 20 episodes in a row within the next week or so.
Nice.
But anything else on the Wednesday night wars?
ROH. ROH.
Moose!
NXT. NXT.
Breeze is gorgeous. All right.
It's an instinct. I can't stop myself sometimes.
Moving along.
So, the WD-40. Let's just slide right past that. Hey, the WWE
Heyo.
announced a bit of more information about the July 4th Tokyo show, which is a network special. That's going to be a good night.
That is going to be a good night. Well, it's going to be a good morning. It's going to air at 6:30 a.m.
Good night there.
I'm used to that because I watch a lot of New Japan, and I have to usually stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning to watch it live. Yeah, so 6:30 is really not bad at all. I was really psyched because I thought I was going to get to actually watch Chris Jericho fight Finn Balor live, and then they canceled the match.
Yeah, I blame Sami Zayn for that.
Why?
Well, because now that Kevin Owens is in a situation where he's on the main roster, he kind of gets pulled in a different direction, so you kind of have to give Finn Balor the title.
I see what you're saying. I feel like that would have still played itself out regardless of Zayn's injury, but
I feel like they would have done it on their own, like NXT special. They wouldn't have
Dragged
done
it
it
out a
on
little
like that one.
But we're still getting Chris Jericho Neville, and
We are.
that's going to be pretty great. I got to go to the venue where they're going to be holding this special at. I saw some sumo wrestling there. It's Sumo Hall, and it's a really cool venue, and I kind of wish I was there. I'm happy that I get to watch the network special, but Tokyo got really lucky with this, and
They're going to witness a great match.
The last match.
possibly. Yeah. So,
The Demon gets the title.
I think
that's the plan. I think.
Yeah, I think that's really the setup, is that Finn Balor is going to win the NXT title in Tokyo, which is appropriate. That's, Prince Devitt's old home. He's definitely wrestled in Sumo Hall with the Bullet Club.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be great. Jericho Neville will be great. They announced that there was going to be a tag team title match with New Day taking on Cesaro and Tyson Kidd.
Uh-oh.
I don't think that's going to happen, though.
No.
You want to take over for that one, Andy, because your boy TJ.
Oh
isn't
my
doing so
God!
hot.
Why does this happen to me? Everybody that I like, everybody that I start to get behind, I start to care about, I start to gather all of these feelings. They get hurt, and then I'm just left with this big empty space in my soul, and that's where I am right now. Tyson Kidd on a goddamn dark match for Raw. Hurt his spine, hurt his back, and Samoa Joe, and God damn it.
Too rough, Joe.
The muscle buster busted his muscles.
Ooh.
Andy, could you do me a favor and start really liking and caring about Big Show?
I was actually talking to Shane before you arrived about how I'm going to be like the biggest Sheamus fan from now on.
Please, for all of us, for the universe.
But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Is the WWE hasn't released a whole lot of information about it, and since it was a dark match, it's not on video. No one has seen it except people that were there.
The thing is the cameras are always rolling once they have that set up there,
Right.
and they did have the Superstars apron and the signs and everything.
Mhm.
It could have potentially been planned to be on Superstars,
Right.
and then the injury is what made them take it off the air.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, but they're not saying much except that he's sustained an injury. So we're all kind of waiting. I'm waiting on the edge of my seat here. I hope to God he's okay. I hope that it's not too serious, because not only do I like Tyson Kidd as a wrestler, I kind of don't want people to get hurt like that. I hate
Of course.
injuries. Injuries are awful. No one, and he's young still. There's still quite a career ahead of him.
He's just a kid.
Well, in terms of the tag team titles match, if Cesaro and Kidd do get replaced for New Day to fight somebody new, there's already another tag team match on the card with the Lucha Dragons against the Los Matadors.
Yeah.
So that could just maybe be turned into like a three-way or
Okay.
something. The only other match I want to cover, though, for Tokyo is the fact that Brock Lesnar is fighting Kofi Kingston.
I just don't believe that's real. I read that. I heard that. Is this what? What? Kofi?
I don't know if
He's
they're-
gonna kill him.
This means one thing. Kofi's going to win the Money in the Bank.
I actually thought about that within the past week. I thought, you know what? They've worked so hard to repair Roman Reigns in terms of people finally, turning to like him and respect him for, gaining respect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like with it being that obvious that Roman Reigns would win the Money in the Bank briefcase, that they should avoid it, because people will just go
Absolutely.
back to hating Reigns.
Yeah.
And Kofi could be a weird possibility.
You know what You know what it is? It's because I remember I heard rumors that Roman Reigns was going to start a program with Kane, and what a way to enter that program now that Kane has just been entered into the Money in the Bank match. Roman Reigns goes to climb the ladder, gets screwed over by Kane, starts that feud. But Kofi, that's fucking crazy as hell.
Yeah.
And that'd be, you know what? That's cool.
I mean, supposedly the whole reason why they're doing it in the first place is because Brock doesn't do house shows.
Right.
And on top
Yeah.
of that, his televised events are very limited.
Like
I mean,
what?
it turned into a network special. But supposedly he was visiting a friend out in Tokyo that he had planned on visiting. So they're using some, business tax loophole to where, it just counts as an appearance and he gets, free flights and,
All right.
turns it into a payday.
Well, let's face it. Lesnar doesn't have any friends in Japan.
I don't think he has any friends in general.
I don't think Heyman likes him.
Well, Heyman says he's his friend, but really they're just business partners.
Can I backtrack just 1 second really quickly, because I feel like we glossed over something. With the Kid injury, I just want to ask really quickly, what do we do with Cesaro? What's going to happen?
It's now or never.
They were already talking about doing a singles push for him.
What about moving him down to NXT?
That would be a step backwards.
Wouldn't work.
He was already in
He did great
NXT.
on NXT.
Yeah.
He did fantastic. He had a great program with Sami Zayn, and it was great. But I don't want to see him there anymore. He's good.
Yeah.
I've had my fill of Cesaro on NXT. He's a tremendous wrestler, and he just... I feel like he's been given a lot of opportunities, but, like, in the beginning when he was doing... What was the girl? Was it Oksana that was walking around with him?
Yes.
That was just horrendous. And then he got paired up with Jack Swagger, and that was bad. And then he won.
Oh, yeah.
Like
That wasn't all bad. The Real
It's-
Americans were pretty cool.
They
at
were,
certain
but
points.
they...
I mean, Zeb Coulter was pretty great.
Zeb Coulter is great, yeah. But Zeb Coulter was great. Cesaro wasn't great in that situation.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I
I
mean-
mean, yes and no, because he was still in Real Americans when he won the WrestleMania Battle Royal.
Yeah.
So it depends on how they never won tag team gold when they
Right.
won that tag team. So
And
there's
but
a
then
point there.
he won the Andre Trophy. He fought Big Show again at a pay-per-view, and that was it. And then like Cesaro kind of like got brushed away, and then Jack Swagger gets when they need Rusev to beat somebody, they pull Jack Swagger out of the closet.
Yeah. Now that he's gone, it's all Zack Ryder.
At least Zack Ryder's back on TV.
Getting beat. So we've talked about somebody that was Swiss.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Tyson Kidd from Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about the Tokyo Network special.
We did.
I feel like we need a little bit more Americana.
We can do this. And I can help.
All right.
Let me take a couple breaths here. So, America, what is the good word? Are you commending Caitlyn Jenner for being brave enough to go through a transgender transformation? BTW, good on you, Jenner. Olympic hero and a hero to the LGBT community. Now, are you concerned about the other big news? NSA can no longer screen our phone calls. For now. Remember, when you are reading about your favorite stars, to look and see what that story is covering. There is a bigger picture out there, folks. Get educated. Anyways, that was a bit too conspiracy theorist for me. So, stay safe, stay fun, party hardy, get some sun. Sun's out, guns out. Word.
Sun's out, guns out?
Yeah, that's my I'm actually wearing a tank top that says that now.
God bless America.
You may remember this tank top from the movie 22 Jump Street. Channing Tatum made it famous. I am no Channing Tatum, but this is a damn good tank top.
Well, the audience hasn't seen you really yet, so...
They've seen one picture of me, and I...
Oh, we're going to take another today, and
Yes.
it's going to be Andrew with a shoe in his mouth. So
That's not a metaphor, people.
Woo! It's an actual shoe
There's going to be a shoe in my mouth.
in his mouth. Mmm. Tasty. So, I think it's time to get down to the meat and the potatoes. The best part. The chops and or pops. So, like most people, I like to get the bad news out of the way first.
Agreed.
exactly.
So, let's do it. Big chop, big man. Big chop. Big show, big chop. So, gentlemen, chops of the week. Shane.
Nope, you guys go first.
Andrew.
I'll go first. So this past week on Raw, Bo Dallas had a match with Neville. And the part that I didn't like wasn't the match.
Mhm.
It was the realization after watching Bo Dallas's entrance. He's, in my opinion, finished. He's gotten crickets now. It's so far of a sink that he's had. I have to give him a chop now because I just don't think there's anything that can be done to save him. This is a man who had NXT main event all over him. He put on some of the best matches that brand has seen, and now he's made it to the main roster. He's been given ample opportunities, ample time, worked with a lot of great talent. It's a horrible, horrible thing.
It's bittersweet with Bo because we may be losing Bo, but we have the New Day. who has the exact same gimmick. They're making fun of you with positivity.
Well, I am naturally negative, so.
However, I liked it when Bo did it because I felt like he wasn't trying to be sarcastic. I think he was being sincere.
Yeah.
So is your chop for the booking of Bo Dallas jobbing out, or are you actually chopping Bo and thinking that he's failing?
I'm chopping that he's failing.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know. When I first saw him come up, I might be the only one that saw this, but I saw the old blue chipper, the Kurt Angle, when he first came up. I was
Wow,
like,
that's strong.
no, I'm not comparing. Listen, nothing aside from the three eyes and all that stuff. He had that. Bo Dallas has this angle. Didn't mean to do that, but it's fallen so far off the map. It's completely done. He's just failed. I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
Believe.
I don't want to.
You have to believe it. Because
Andy.
it is Bo happening. That didn't work, but it's Bo happening. It's a Bo-ummer. Wop, wop, wop. So my chop is Tyson Kidd is hurt, but the real chop goes to me, folks. Because seriously, who's next? Who else am I gonna like? And they're gonna get hurt, and I'm gonna be pissed off about. Am I gonna start pulling for Finn Balor now and just get a demon T-shirt, and then he's gonna like break his leg in a freak accident in Tokyo? Am I gonna like John Cena and he's gonna tear his bicep, or he's gonna tear his tricep again? Am I gonna like Roman Reigns and then he's gonna Superman punch somebody and he's gonna fracture his knuckle and be out for a couple months? Or am I gonna like Dean Ambrose and then Seth Rollins is gonna forget that he can't do a curb stomp and then kill him?
No, Ambrose is pretty indestructible. But,
Oh yeah.
Just please don't like Chris Jericho, and then his plane crashes down like coming home from Japan or something.
I will make sure not to like Chris Jericho. But that's my chop. My chop is me. I hate myself
Aww.
for rooting for
Poor Andy.
the underdog, hurt people, and you know what? I think Kevin Owens is my new guy. Not because I want him to get hurt, but because he seems pretty tough. He seems like a big, strong guy. Don't take nothing from nobody.
He was just hurt, you know.
I know, but he got better quickly.
It's true.
So that's good. I like that. So that's my chop. My chop is me.
That was perfect timing because I didn't have a chop, and that's why
All
I was
right.
procrastinating. And then I thought of Samoa Joe and injuring Tyson Kidd, and then it finally dawned on me what my actual chop of the week is: the cancellation of Jericho Balor.
Yeah.
It's so bittersweet. We're getting this awesome network special. I'm not complaining in the fact that I'm getting Jericho Neville, but we were gonna get Jericho Balor. I mean, in a sense, we weren't, because originally it wasn't going to be televised.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, it's still happening. It's going to happen the day before, but it's just my chop that got rescheduled, and that if they're going to go through the trouble of this network special, that they can't just give us that, because that would be incredible. But
Right.
that's my chop of the week.
Darn.
Well, with every dose of medicine, there is that spoonful of sugar that just, that gives you that feeling of it's a beautiful feeling.
Cocaine?
No cocaine. No. Well, for whatever reason,
No sound clip?
it's not playing.
All right.
For whatever reason,
Ready?
it's played 4 times.
Can you do the pop noise with your finger?
Hold on.
There you Next week we'll just...
Technology.
All right.
Now, would you like to go first, Shane?
Sure. My pop of the week is the obvious pop of the week. Austin Lesnar in a Texas death match at WrestleMania is pretty much the greatest thing that can happen.
Pop of the year.
Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory, and we already talked about that one. So pop of the week is that tease on the podcast.
It's a good pop.
Yep. You guys?
You know, I was thinking about a pop for the week because I've been having a strange week. My pop is Ryback, is the Intercontinental Champion, and it's really weird. And for some reason, this makes me really happy. I feel like he kind of needs this because when he got his big push and he was in like the main title shot, he never actually got anything. He just got beat up and then called a baby. I mean, hell, Curtis Axel got the title like right away. Like
That was when it had less meaning, though.
it did, and I mean, I think Daniel Bryan handing it to him, it didn't get the huge reaction it did, but I mean, he seemed honestly grateful to be receiving that. Like when you watch like the replays of it, you see him like there's no mic on him, but you see him mouth "Thank you so very much," and that I feel like that goes a long way to the Ryback that we saw with Rybaxel, where he was just a jerk face.
Yeah.
So I hope it gets better for him. I hope he eats people. I hope he just straight up opens his mouth and manges, yum yum, eat him up. But I'm rooting for Ryback now too, even though he just got hurt too. So I don't want to God, what am I doing?
Well, he did say shortly after getting the title that it tasted good. For whatever that means. I don't know if he tried taking a bite out of it, but
There's a Japanese game show, and I don't know the name of it, but it roughly is a show where they put people in a room and they have to bite things and find out what's chocolate, because they recreate set pieces out of chocolate. And so you see people like biting like door handles and like biting tables and stuff.
what's
I need to see this.
It's on YouTube. It's gotta love the Japanese.
We're talking about them a lot today.
They're wonderful, the Japanese. They give us
are.
all the great stuff.
Moving right along here.
Intro.
I'm gonna be that guy this week where I have 2 semi-pops and then my one that I'm just gonna love to death.
Okay.
First 2, one's pretty obvious. I hate this guy, but I love this guy, John Cena, for pointing out that fan in the crowd that said had the sign saying "I'm beating cancer."
That was
Not
a
sure if
moment.
it was a plant, but whether or not it was beautiful, and it actually brought a freaking tear to my eye.
It kind of like dawned on you even in the moment. It's like, that's probably a plant, but I don't care.
Exactly. That's how he wins me over. Mini pop there, John Cena, way to go. The other is another personal favorite of mine. I love when anybody does this, but Paul Heyman did it on the Stone Cold podcast. He did an impersonation of Dusty Rhodes. And
that was good.
I love when anybody does it, but Paul Heyman did it damn near flawlessly.
Didn't he do another one that was even better? I feel like he did 2 impersonations.
He definitely did. It might have been somebody when he was telling the story about how he was a cameraman or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Can't remember the specifics, but he did a Dusty Rhodes impression. My number 1 pop of the week, though.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and this brings me back to when I first saw an ROH show live. The streamers that are at ROH shows. I love the streamers.
So much fun.
They throw them towards the ring, and the wrestlers don't care. It hits them in the face, it hits them in the body. They just kick them aside, and they wrestle anyway. And now it's on television. God bless you, ROH.
Streamers are fun.
God bless them. Should we give them a shucky ducky?
Sure.
Yes.
It's been a while.
It has.
Oh, shucky ducky, quack, quack.
I missed that.
Quack, quack.
And no
indeed.
Machiavelli for when we were
I
talking
know,
about Tyson Kidd.
Just talk about Tyson Kidd.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear about Tyson Kidd?
What happened?
Oh, Tyson Kidd. You know he's got a cat? You know what the cat's name is?
He's going to be spending a lot more time with Machiavelli now.
He loves those cats. When he was hurt before, he spent all the time with those cats. They're like his best friends.
They don't talk back, cats.
They don't. They don't. But they'll try to kill you when you're not looking. Cats are evil. Don't forget that.
Yeah. Something about
There was a movie, Cats vs. Dogs, and cats were evil, dogs were good. That's real.
I believe it. I think there's any other way around
You don't
it.
call cat man's best friend. It's a dog.
They have 9 lives.
So after pondering about the complexities of the animal kingdom hierarchy of battling, I think that's about it for us here. I'm gonna throw in the towel. Give us the old.
But wait, there's more.
Oh shit!
Swerve.
Oh Oh, shucky ducky. Quack, quack. We're not done yet. It's the false finish. This is some stuff that was just little tidbits.
You can tell we bench press a lot because we just kicked out at 2.
Speaking of kicking out at 2, did you hear about James Storm pushing his girlfriend Mickie James in front of a train tracks? Only reported to have a concussion? Throw her in a match with Cena.
Oh, God.
It's true, it happened.
It did.
And we got to watch it via security cam.
Those are the best. I love when the security camera, like, when Brett gets hurt and, like, breaks his leg. You know, like, all those, like, things are ridiculous.
What was it, GTV? Or what was it during the Raw?
GTV. Didn't we talk about this already? Because I told you who it was supposed to... Yeah, Tom Green. Yep.
Blew my mind.
Did you guys hear about the 2 high school students who, after the one graduated, he got hit with a stunner?
Yes, I did see the video.
Yeah, the school was very upset with them. And I believe they might have stripped them of their diplomas.
What?
Yeah.
But they did this on stage?
They did.
Like he grabbed his diploma
And then,
and
like,
kicked him in the
celebrated, and then
stomach,
his
and then
friend
hit
ran
the
up and
stomach.
stunnered him.
Oh, come on.
Right.
It's awesome.
Some kid, while I was graduating, broke out into a robot dance. That was a kid right before me. I had nothing.
Didn't
Actually,
somebody at our graduation, like, do, like, a cartwheel and they didn't give him his diploma?
Yep. I think he got it like 2-3 months later,
Yeah.
but
Oh.
yeah.
How ridiculous. Like you've had us for 4 years. Let us celebrate, you know? As
Yeah.
long as we're not doing anything derogatory or, like violent. Like,
Yeah, they're not doing anything detrimental
Yeah.
to the school. Just trying to do something to remember him by.
Ugh. What a jerk. So, women's wrestler Allie Parker has left the business after donating a kidney to her brother. I love these little short tidbits.
Who's Allie Parker?
No idea.
Well, I've never
It
even
just-
heard of her.
I was looking at short little tidbits, and it said women's wrestler Allie Parker has left the business.
Well, that's very commendable.
It
She did
is.
that.
You
Huh.
know, it's really nice that you have 2 kidneys because, she would be dead if she gave her other one away, which would be extremely, like, admirable in that situation.
Is that what Will Smith did in that movie, 7 Pounds? Something.
He did. He gave away something, like, what part of his body,
Yeah.
and he saved. Was it Rosario Dawson?
Yeah, I think he gave her his heart or something. He played a guy who gave away like
Oh
every...
God, I think I did see that at work one day.
Yeah. He would play a guy who gave away like everything. He did Spinal Tap so he could donate bone marrow and stuff. Ugh.
God, Will Smith.
Moving right along.
Also for false finish stuff, there's 2 tidbits from the Performance Center, from the WWE Performance Center. This past week, they held tryouts, and damn near every important name you know from the indie scene was a part of it. A couple names I have jotted down was Drew Gulak was a part of it, along with Biff Busick. Chuck Taylor was there, Johnny Gargano was there, and for the women, Havoc and Taylor Hendricks, who are both former TNA knockouts. Well, actually, Havoc, I think, is still under contract with TNA, so that's a little fishy. But Taylor Hendricks was in TNA a few years ago. All of them are trying out. Wish them the best of luck. And there's a good portion of them that really should get signed. If they don't sign a guy like Drew Gulak, I don't get what else you're looking for in a wrestler. Same goes for Biff Busick.
I know that name from somewhere, Drew Gulak. Where do I know him from?
He's everywhere in the indies. He wrestles a lot in CZW, but he's been making his way to PWG. He wrestles in Smash Wrestling. Just Evolve he started performing for. He's just everywhere, and he's actually one of the coaches at the CZW dojo. So he's just, you couldn't ask for more from a wrestler. But also, in terms of the Performance Center, did you guys hear about the fantasy camps?
Oh,
No.
no. This sounds amazing.
Yeah. We can go.
Oh.
They are offering packages for one day for a fantasy training camp where you can go to the Performance Center and train. Basically, it comes as part of a huge package. I didn't write everything down, so I'm just going off the top of my head. But you would go through, get to see Dusty Rhodes, where he trains everybody for their promo classes.
Oh, man.
You would get to, I think that there's an introduction from Triple H himself. It cost a couple $1,000s, so it's nothing cheap. It's
Right.
But
and
you
I
live your
think-
fantasy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I think there's it's a it's limited to 20 people per day that they do it. So
Yeah.
it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be hard to get in, but that could be a lot of fun. Only other two things I have left for False Finish are the Super Juniors finished up this morning. Kushida ended up winning it. The finals were Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly.
Okay.
The entire Super Junior tournament was pretty great this year. There was a lot of good matches. But I watched Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly today. It was brutal. There was a spot where Kushida landed on his head unpurposely. You could tell O'Reilly messed that up a little bit, or just not messed it up, but it just didn't land the way they wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's when everything got serious, because they were only like halfway through the match, and the first half of the match was just kind of meh, you know, and then everything just picked up from there, because you thought Kushida was like dead, and they ended up going on to just put on an incredible match. But yeah, so Kushida will be getting a junior heavyweight title match against Kenny Omega. And the only other thing I have left is CZW related, in that DJ Hyde announced on a podcast, I believe the name of it was Completely Damaged, was the name of the podcast that he went on. I think they're from Jersey too. But he announced that he will be launching CZW Studios in the near future, which is his own version of the WWE Network for CZW, where you could pay $9.99 a month and watch whatever you want. And he didn't announce this on the podcast, but there are rumors that one of the other big announcements he is planning is that at the end of the year this year, for December, Cage of Death will be on pay-per-view. Like actual pay-per-view.
Oh, God.
Not streaming on the internet.
Oh,
on
no.
Pay-per-view for purchase.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I don't want it.
You don't have to buy it.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to.
Well, then don't
Someone's
buy it.
going to die.
Well, they've held, what, 16 of them now, and nobody's died yet, so...
But it's for a pay-per-view. They're going to go all out.
True. But, you know, now that we're just on the topic of it, I'm going to bring up one of the defenses that I actually think is fair for CZW being known for death matches. Even though that's not all they do. They actually have a lot of great wrestling. But I'm going to bring up the one defense that people bring up. You're making the point that somebody could die at Cage of Death because of them going all out and being live on pay-per-view. CZW has been around for 16 years. Not once has anybody died during one of their pay-per-views. The WWE can't say that.
This is true.
Just saying.
This is
Valid
true.
point.
Hell, even TNA, somebody got damn near paralyzed. CZW doing all these death matches, nobody's died yet.
They're just fitting in.
And I don't want that to happen either. I'm not.
No.
I'm not.
It's. I just get. There's a lot of.
It gets violent. It gets
moments.
violent. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, anything with any sharp objects and glass and lights and barbed wire and.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's all I have for False Finish. So.
All right.
All right. So that is it for us here. Really, at this time, I'm not gonna just, you know, pull
Bench
the rag
press.
out from underneath you and just kind of be like, wait a minute. But I'm not actually gonna do that because that would be mean.
I feel like you just did it.
I did. I really did. But this is actually the end of the show. Thank you very much for listening. I am Andy. Check me out on social media. YDNAGIACCONE. That's Twitter. Check me out. I say stuff. Sometimes. I post pictures. Sometimes. I don't know. Stay tuned. See what I say. Go ahead. Rip me apart. I dare you, bro.
I'm Andrew. I'm the guy with the appetite for shoe-struction.
Oh yeah. I mean. You said you weren't going to throw the swerve of the False Finish of this show. Andrew has not eaten a shoe yet. Pump
Wait.
the brakes.
Wait.
This is real, people.
Here. I'm going to get your shoe right now. I have Andrew's shoe in my hand. I'm handing it to Andrew.
Looks good.
Now,
It's a nice hot day today. Should be nice and sweaty and moist.
now
This shows how much I love John Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose.
This is for you, Dean.
Andrew, eat that shoe.
Wizard status, here I am.
Take a nice.
No forks necessary.
How is it?
Shoot-tastic.
Shoot-tastic.
I thought you were going to say it was like soul food. But, all right. And I think that's it. I'm Shane. And Andrew's
right.
a Say to Shoe. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next time here on Chops and Pops.
Peace out.
Shoes. 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 Andrew eats them. Yeah, he eats them. All the shoes. Eats them good.
It's got some kick.